So I like Moog. They're kind of the Apple of the synthesizer world. Part of the price tag is definitely for the name, but they're a historically significant brand that makes a great product. They don't have many examples of cheap synthesizers, but I did get my hands on a Werkstatt-01 this year, which might be the least expensive product they've ever offered. So since 2004, Moog has held a technology and music festival, somewhat redundantly called Moogfest. In 2014, they had a workshop where attendants built the Werkstatt-01 by hand. I'm assuming after that, they had a competition to see who could make the best laser sounds. A year later, in 2015, Moog releases the Mother 32 to the public. This starts a trend where every year Moog releases a new semi-modular synthesizer. The Werkstatt is very clearly a prototype for the Mother 32. They both have a single oscillator, a VCF, an LFO, an envelope generator, and a dinky little keyboard made out of buttons. Everyone's like, great, this is awesome, but $700 is kind of a lot for an entry-level synthesizer with one oscillator. Moog says, that's nice, and spends the next 5 years building out their arsenal of mother synthesizers. We get Grandma, we get Drummy Mama, we get Big Mama, we get Big Mama Thornton, we get the Subharmonicon, we get the Oedipus Complex. Here's the problem, none of those synths ever dip below the $700 mark. Grandma's actually gone up in price. She was only $900 when I worked at Guitar Center. Goddamn! In 2020, Moog finally says, okay, we get it, our synthesizers are expensive. Here, now you can buy the Werkstatt. It's $200. This rinky-dink little synthesizer is commercially available for the first time, and no one really cares. People aren't really jazzed about the build quality, so Moog discontinues it a year later to give us a better compromise. That's Mavis, a $350 Werkstatt that doesn't slice your fingers open. Seriously, what the hell is up with this? Moog, are you trying to get a blood sacrifice out of me? Is this synth cursed? I don't have Mavis, but having used the Mother 32 for a while, it was nice to get my hands on, again, what feels like its prototype. I've been screwing around with both of them for the past couple weeks, having a ton of fun just patching stuff and also comparing them side by side. So how's the Werkstatt-01 stack up to the Mother 32? Does the modularity of the Werkstatt-01 make it a good complement to the Mother 32? Should you pick one up used if you have the chance? Maybe. So real quick, here's a list of all the important components that both of these synths have to offer. For me, the most notable additions on the Mother are the sequencer and octave switcher, the white noise generator, and the fact that it's Eurorack. I don't plan on building a whole modular system anytime soon, but maybe one day. So let's do some good old-fashioned A/Bing. I'm not going to talk over this section, but the specifics of what you need to know will be on screen. The best way that I can describe the sound of the Werkstatt is just cheap. If you look at the frequency response of each in Ableton, you'll see that the Mother 32 is a little bit louder and has much richer harmonics at the high end. If you were in some live situation where you wanted to play a solo through a keyboard, well, first of all, the MIDI on the Werkstatt is CV only, so already good luck with that. But also, the Mother 32 is going to have a much easier time cutting through the rest of the mix. But it's $500 extra, you'd kind of hope so. Other stray things that piss me off about the Werkstatt, the tuning knob is way too tiny for my big fat fingers. If I want to sync the oscillator up to any other oscillators, I kind of have to defer to the pitch of the Werkstatt because it's so hard to fine tune. Also, I'm going to complain about the breadboard thing on the side again. It feels like a cheese grater. Apparently when this synth was introduced in the workshop, it was called the CV expander and it was technically an add-on, but I've never seen a Werkstatt without one, so I don't know why they didn't give it a little more love and polish, at least for the commercial release. But the cool thing about modular synths is they can work together as a team, like bandmates that actually hear each other out. Cooperation beats competition. credit where credit is due, I learned a ton from Moog Tutorials as well as this video by Kraft Music. Links to all those resources will be in the description. I highly recommend checking those out if you want a technical breakdown without all the personality. The first thing I really cared about was using both oscillators together, so we'll start there. Either the VCO or the VCF out of the Werkstatt goes into the external audio in of the Mother 32, then the keyboard out from the Mother 32 goes to the VCO exponential FN in. Don't make the mistake of plugging into the VCO line FN in like I did, or the notes won't line up. The mix knob on the Mother 32 controls the levels of each. If you use the VCO out, the signal is coming directly from the oscillator, so none of the Werkstatt controls will impact the sound once it's patched in. If you use the VFO, you can still use the Werkstatt filter to control the Werkstatt voice. Anything you do with the Mother's filter envelope is going to impact both voices, since the Mother's filter comes after the mix knob in the signal path. Once you have the voices synced up, you can keep patching to make a more interesting sound. You can automate the mix by patching the Mother 32 LFO triangle out to the Mother 32 mix CV in. Or you can get really weird and use the Mother 32's gate out on the mix CV in instead. That only works if you're running a sequence. To take it one step farther and get completely atonal, I can take the CV mix out and patch to the VCO 1 volt for octave or VCO line FN. I call this patch My Neighbors Hate Me. Something I'd spent very little time with before acquiring the Werkstatt is this VC mix section of the Mother 32. There might be some internal rerouting that you can do with this section, but it's a great hub for patching in external CV. Let's say that we want to add some kind of modulation with an external source, but we also want a dry signal. You can take something like the LFO or the VCO out of the Werkstatt, plug it into mix 2. Mix 1 is left untouched, so that's basically our dry or unmodulated signal. Then we patch the VC out to whatever parameter we want to modulate. As an example, this is how it sounds when I use the Werkstatt's LFO to modulate the filter cutoff on the Mother 32. I'm starting with the VC mix knob all the way at mix 1, so you can hear how it sounds with no modulation, then I'll gradually fade into the modulated sound. One last patch, this one's fun. Pull those cables out, then route the Mother 32's gate out to the Werkstatt's gate in, the Werkstatt envelope generator out to the VCF cutoff. Now the Werkstatt's envelope generator controls the Mother 32 filter. To keep going, we can route the Werkstatt LFO out into mix 1, and now you have two different types of modulations to mix between. You could also reroute the Werkstatt's envelope generator to the Mother 32 mix 2, the VC mix into the VCF cutoff, and now you can use the VC mix knob to go from an unmodulated signal to a modulated one. And if we don't want to mix by hand, the Mother's LFO is still available. Just patch the LFO triangle out to the VC mix control in. The Mother 32, to no surprise, surpasses the quality of the Werkstatt-01 in pretty much every way that I can think of. I'm probably not going to use the Werkstatt's oscillator by itself when I have the direct upgrade sitting next to me. I will say this. The Mother 32 has been sitting on my shelf gathering dust for like the past couple years. I've used it for some nice ambient stuff, but other than that, I've never gotten into patching or modular the way that I thought I would when I bought it. Incorporating the Werkstatt meant I had to start patching. And once you start patching and get into the possibilities, you start having a ton of fun. So I do give the Werkstatt props for helping me to fall back in love with the Mother 32. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more of this face in your feed. And Moog, if you're watching, feel free to send me a Mavis. I would love to talk about it. I'm sure my 4 subscribers would love to hear about it. Okay, bye.